Welcome back to the Public Relations Podcast. I'm joined with one of my favorites on this show, and that's Kathleen from Red Fan Communications in Texas in the United States. And Kathleen put on LinkedIn the other day a comment about the fact she was talking to a lot of sales teams at the moment, and that they didn't really have a comms strategy in mind, or they hadn't really thought about how comms could be used to build bridges before the sales team actually try to sell to someone, to actually get a story out there in advance. And I just thought this was really interesting because I'm always interested in talking about how comms can be used and how effective it is. So I thought, let's get Kathleen on. And as usual, she's absolutely wonderful. She said she would. So first of all, just sum up the main points of what you were saying, just for people that didn't see your post on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. Great to be here, of course. Well, what we're seeing is, as soon as September hits, there's about 100 days left in the year. Okay. And so what is called the sprint for many. And if you're in sales, that's what, this is the moment. Are you going to make your numbers? If you're the CEO, are you going to make the numbers? And so what I've been talking to quite a few CEOs as well as sales leads who are realizing they're up against this issue where there's no air cover. So the sales team is saying, hey, the messaging that corporate gave us isn't working and we have no air cover. We're not able to open doors, right? So, what's happening is everything is, the weight of the world is on them. Whereas if you have a strong website, you've ensured that your messaging is good, at least your social media is strong, you've started to get some press out there about the company even exists, right? And so that by the time the sales team is knocking on the door, at least there's some echo chamber of, okay, whether it's a B2B company selling a fintech service or whatever it may be, it's not the first time you're hearing about it. There's a lot of people knocking on the doors. There's got to be some level of air cover, and they're lacking it.
So what is the experience that they're telling you that they're actually getting? Are they just ringing up someone that they've got on the kind of their list of leads, and they're ringing up and they're going, "Hello, I'm from such and such company. This is who?"
Oh, absolutely, and not only that. Look, I'm getting a lot of calls right now. What are you? I don't have time for this. Whereas if I already know, oh yeah, I've heard of you. Like, you know what? I can make some time, like 20 minutes even for a call. Whereas if I have never heard of you, that salesperson has to do the entire storyline of why you should talk to me, the whole 9 yards. And there's only so much time on that phone. Or if you're going to a trade show and the sales team is trying to set up some meetings at the trade show, how many other companies are trying to set up the same type of meetings? If you have no air cover and you're trying to make it all happen, you're probably not going to get too many meetings booked.
So what's the narrative that these salespeople are telling you that they wish had been put out? I mean, what particular messages? Because
I think
it's not that we're big. I mean, what story?
Yeah, I have a couple of different ones. One is I've got in the education tech space, in the cannabis business. There's some big conferences coming up, for example, and they need to have the runway between now and that conference to make sure. Okay, what is the CEO? Does anyone even know who the CEO is? What is what's the premise behind our company versus our competition? What kind of press coverage do we have out there? Have we won any awards? All the things that create an integrated marketing and communication strategy. Are we announcing wins on LinkedIn and on our Instagram if that's relevant? Are we showcasing that, that we're growing, that we have momentum as a company? Because, a lot of people don't want to make a sale with a company that might not be here in 6 months, right? So they want to know, did you get any funding announcements?
Are you credible? Are you actually going to exist?
Right.
Yeah.
All those things. Who's on your board? Those types of things that really start to create this surround sound that makes it a lot easier for the sales team. And the other part of it is marketing, straight up marketing, right? So you want to make sure the sales team is working with marketing, and there's drip campaigns, there's target lists and clients, and that there's content going out that is expressing that we understand the pain point of the customer long before the sales team is calling, right? So they're sipping this, tea. They're like, oh, okay, this is interesting. Okay, I'm going to start following this company. They seem to understand my pain points. Now the salesperson calls.
Because one of the things you often see with companies, they still just put out corporate statements or on Twitter or whatever platform, they're putting out some kind of boring announcement about a new product, or it's very dry, it's very cold. And it just strikes me that when you've got salespeople, they are trying to reach out to human beings.
Absolutely.
If these people, if you're putting out a boring statement in your social media, these people aren't going to be reading it unless they've got a particular need to.
Right.
So how are you going to tell your story to those human beings who are at the other end of the line that might buy your product? Right. And that's comms.
It's comms. I mean, the big thing is what's happening is sometimes companies are just pulling like one leg on the stool. They're just going to put out a press release, but they're not doing thought leadership, right? They're not doing these things, and they don't understand that these things all mesh together. They create that surround sound that I'm talking about. And so, I have a company the other day I was talking to, and they had just started doing social media and blogs. And I said, well, if a tree falls in the woods, and nobody's there to witness it, like your blog, nobody's going to read it. Yeah. So if you're not putting out announcements about the wins that you have, or getting your customers on TV and making them the heroes and showcasing, that you're doing this good work, we don't know about it. And we're not going to find your website. We're not going to even seek you out.
Why is it, Kathleen? I mean, obviously, we're talking to each other because we both understand the power of comms. But why is it that people are still maybe not realizing the power of it? Or maybe it is just literally they're looking at their budget and going, we've got to cut costs where we can cut comms. I mean, why aren't people hearing the message of the power of PR and comms?
I think that there are a number of CEOs that value this. So when I look at sales teams and I say, don't even join a company if you don't have a C-suite that believes in marketing and communications, because you're going to have a slog like nobody's business, and they probably turn and burn through their sales team and don't really care. But if you have a corporation and a C-suite that cares about PR and marketing, now you should know that right off the bat, because that's going to be really, really important. And for those people who don't, unfortunately, they have advisors, even some venture capital firms say, don't spend too much money on this and don't spend too much money on that. But they're the first to smack them on the head when they don't meet their numbers, right? So it's like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So you have to have a C-suite that is willing to say, okay, we're going to hire these sales teams. We're not going to tie one arm behind their back. We're going to make sure that we have a steady stream of news. We're going to decide who are going to be thought leaders. We're going to build that thought leadership out, make sure that we've got some speaking engagements. We're investing in conferences. All of those things are marketing and comm integrated. And that is where, the success really happens, not one-offs. Of another company right now that's spending a ton of money on a conference. And I told them, your website is pathetic. Like, it really is sad. And it does not tell the incredible story that we know needs to be told. We've done all the writing. We're ready to help you. You need to invest in this website, because you're going to be sending all this traffic to this website off an event that looks spectacular, and it will be spectacular, but it's going to fall flat. And the sales team is going to have leads, and they're going to be confused. Is this the same company that I saw on this conference? Because this doesn't feel like it or look like it.
So in a nutshell, if you've got someone listening to this right now and they're from a business who's going, I'm not sure whether I need comms, but they're trying to get sales, how would you kind of encapsulate that message?
I would sit down with them and the CEO or marketing head and say, look, let's take a look at the last 100 days. Let's look at what you've got coming up, and let's take at least some baby steps to show you what can be done to kind of create that air cover, so that way for 2025, you're starting to get a taste of what it's like. We're not going to solve all your problems for 2024 because you should have been on board earlier, but there's definitely still room to make some impact. And everything from a momentum press release that could go out that says all the cool things that you've done just in this year, the wins that you've had, some quotes from clients. I would start to really build up a plan that gives you that momentum for the sales team for the rest of this year, but that can really catapult you into 2025.
Kathleen, it's always a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for checking in with me.
Of course, always happy to be part of it.